Why do you think the government keeps a permanent guard on these ridges?
You see beauty and history, but I see a cage that's barely holding the locks. I've spent my whole life walking these lines. I'm telling you, there are things in these deep limestone caves that don't belong to the daylight. Most people think the warnings are just about bears or getting lost in a storm. But they're wrong. They're so dangerously wrong.
The Black Hills have a heartbeat, and it only synchronizes with our world when the sun is high.
When the moon rises, the hills change their rhythm.
The tents were standing, but they were empty.
The food was still in the pots, cold and untouched, as if they'd been lifted straight into the sky.
I walked the perimeter for hours, looking for any sign of a struggle. I found nothing, but as the sun dipped, the temperature didn't just drop, it plummeted. I looked up and the moon was rising, a pale, sickly sliver of light. I saw something move in the periphery of my vision, a flicker of shadow that didn't behave like a shadow should. I pulled my radio, but there was nothing but static, a harsh grinding noise. I didn't wait to see what it was. I turned and ran.
I didn't stop until I hit the paved road. The street lights provided a thin, pathetic shield of artificial safety.
I live now in a small cabin on the very edge of the protected zone.
I lock my doors, not because I expect a physical intruder, but because I need to keep the barrier solid. A few days later, a specialized team arrived in unmarked vehicles.
They weren't here for search and rescue.
I watched them from the ridge, feeling a cold knot of dread.
They carried gear meant to measure radiation.
They knew exactly what was happening in these woods.
They weren't trying to find the students. They were trying to contain the evidence.
I spent the next year digging into the archives. I spoke to an elder whose face was mapped with wrinkles. He told me the truth about the quartz that acts as a natural conductor.
During the day, the sun's energy keeps the barrier locked tight. But when the moon rises, the polarity shifts. The quartz acts like a beacon for things that dwell in the spaces between seconds.
He called them the echoes.
They are hungry for consciousness. They absorb your memories and leave behind a hollow shell.
I asked him why the government was so involved. He just gave me a sad, bitter smile.
They aren't trying to protect us. They're trying to harness the energy. They've built labs in the deep shafts.
Every time the moon rises, they lose people. They keep the secret because they don't want to lose their prize.
You might think I'm crazy.
Have you ever been out in the woods and heard your name called?
That's the pull of the echoes, using your own curiosity against you. I retired shortly after that.
I live now in a small cabin on the edge of the protected zone.
When the light hits the ridges, I turn off my lamps and lock my doors. I don't lock them because I expect a physical intruder. I need to keep the barrier between my house and the woods solid.
I've seen the things that crawl out when the moon is full.
You think you're safe because you've got a phone and a map. You think the old rules don't apply to you anymore. But the wilderness doesn't care about your tech. It only cares about the hunger. Every time a hiker goes missing, the reports say the same thing. No signs of a struggle, no evidence of foul play. They call it a mystery, but I call it a harvest.
I know why you're interested in this.
You want the truth because you feel it too.
You felt that cold spot on a warm summer evening.
You felt the hair on your neck stand up in the woods. That's your instinct telling you what your brain won't accept. We aren't the masters of this land. We're just guests who've overstayed our welcome.
These hills will be here long after we're gone.
If you're in the Black Hills and the sun starts to set, don't try to get one last photo. Don't try to hike back in the dark because you think you can make it. Turn back, find the nearest road, and get to the city.
Forget the beauty of the landscape and remember the sound of the silence. The hills aren't waiting for you to conquer them.
They're waiting for you to become part of them.
The echoes are patient, and they've got all the time in the world.
My grandfather said the only way to survive is to never show them you're afraid. But how can you not be afraid when you realize the trees are watching you?
How can you stay calm when you hear your own voice calling from behind a rock?
That's the trap. The trap is your own desire to understand.
The trap is the belief that you're an observer and not a participant. I've spent my life guarding the lines, and I've failed more times than I care to admit. I've seen lights in the distance when there should be nothing but darkness. I've heard machines humming deep under the earth. It sounds like a giant mechanical heart beating in time with the moon. The government thinks they can contain it, but you can't contain a concept. You can't contain a hunger that's as old as the stars.
Next time you hear about a missing person in the Black Hills, don't just scroll past it.
Think about the silence.
Think about the way the forest changes when the moon hits the peak. Think about the fact that there are places in this world that were never meant to be known by man. The wilderness is calling, whispering your name in the voices of everyone you've ever loved.
It's telling you that you're welcome, that you're home, and that you should just step off the path.
But you shouldn't answer. You shouldn't even look.
You should run, and you should never, ever look back.
I remember a young girl who went missing near the Needles Highway. Her car was found parked by the turnout, engine still warm. She was a photographer, a lover of the light, always chasing the perfect sunset. When they found her camera, the last few photos weren't of the scenery. They were of the air. There was nothing in the frame but the blurred shapes of the trees and a strange, distorted haze that seemed to ripple like water. But if you looked closely at the edges of the pictures, you could see shapes. Not human, not animal, but geometry that defied the laws of physics. They were angles that didn't belong in nature.
The authorities scrubbed the memory cards.
They told the family it was a glitch, a digital error caused by the cold. But I saw the originals.
I saw the way the light bent around those shapes.
It was as if the air was trying to solidify into something that could reach out and grab the lens.
She didn't disappear because she got lost.
She disappeared because she saw something that wasn't supposed to be seen. She saw the seam in the fabric of the world, and she stepped through it.
People ask me why I don't leave.
Why I stay in this cabin, year after year, watching the moon rise over the hills that I know are hungry. I stay because someone has to be the witness.
Someone has to remember the names of the ones who were taken. If I leave, the story dies, and if the story dies, the next generation will walk out into the woods with no warning at all.
They will walk out there thinking it's just another hike, and they'll become the next set of memories for the things that dwell in the dark.
I am a sentinel. I am the last line of defense against the forgetting.
There's a rhythm to the nights out here.
Sometimes the woods are dead quiet.
Other times, they're filled with weird sounds, like birds mimicking things,
or branches snapping that don't belong to any animal.
When the wind blows from the north, I hear the hum.
It's a low vibration that rattles my cabin windows.
It's the sound of the earth grinding against the weight of things, trying to push through.
Don't think you're safe just 'cause you're miles away from these hills.
The things that live here aren't bound by distance like we are. They're bound by the attention we give them. The more we talk about them, the more power we give them.
By listening to this, you've opened a door in your own mind. I've spent my life trying to figure out why this place was chosen. Why these mountains became the focus of such a terrifying convergence.
The answer, I believe, lies in the age of the stone.
This is some of the oldest rock on the planet.
It's witnessed the birth of the world and the extinction of countless species. It remembers when the air was thick with gases we couldn't even breathe. The quartz is just the key, but the stone is the memory. The mountains are a living record of the planet's darkest hours.
They're trying to play back the tape.
I've seen the government try to use modern tech to map these fissures. They send drones, use radar, and set up sensors. But the hills just play games with them. The drones come back with missing data.
The radar shows impossible structures that just vanish. And the sensors record sounds that drive the technicians to the brink of insanity.
They're trying to measure a ghost with a ruler. They don't understand that you can't quantify the supernatural.
You can only survive it.
Imagine you're standing in the middle of a forest at midnight. There's no moon, no stars, just the heavy weight of the blackness. You feel a hand on your shoulder, but when you turn, there's nobody there.
You feel breath on your neck, but you turn and there's nothing but cold air.
You hear your mother's voice, clear as a bell, telling you to step forward.
You walk and you realize you're walking toward a cliff. That's the reality for those who get too close. The hills don't just want your body, they want your belief. They want you to surrender your sanity so they can anchor themselves to your reality. I've had my own brushes with them. Years ago, while I was mapping a remote section of the canyon, I saw my brother standing by a stream. My brother had been dead for 10 years.
He was wearing the same clothes he was buried in, and he was smiling that same crooked smile.
He called my name, and for a moment, I forgot everything I knew. I forgot the rules, the danger, the years of training.
I started walking toward him, wanting to hug him and talk to him. But then I saw his eyes. They weren't his eyes. They were empty pits of static, flickering like a broken television screen. I stopped, and the moment I stopped, the image shattered. The trees around me seemed to scream, a sound that wasn't human. The ground beneath me felt like it was shifting, as if the earth was trying to swallow me whole. I scrambled back, my heart hammering against my ribs, and I didn't stop until I reached the trailhead. That was the day I realized that the things in the hills are not just mimics. They are thieves. They steal your most precious memories and use them as bait. They know what hurts you the most, and they use that to lure you into the trap. They know that your grief is a doorway, and your hope is a leash. I've spent the rest of my days trying to warn people. But the world is a loud, busy place, and people don't want to hear about the monsters in the dark. They want to hear about the beauty of the national parks. They want to hear about the pretty trails. They don't want to know the dirt is hungry.
The world's just too loud to listen.
But you've listened to the end. You know the rules now. You're just a visitor in a house that belongs to something else. If you're lucky and respectful, you might get home.
But don't ever think you've conquered the wilderness. Don't ever think you've seen its full power.
The Black Hills are waiting. The moon is rising.
And the things in the deep places are always watching.
I'm an old man, and my time's coming to an end. I won't be able to guard these trails much longer. The responsibility will fall to the next generation, and I fear for them. I fear they'll forget the old stories. I fear they'll rely too much on their tech and logic. They'll walk into the trap with their eyes wide open.
But I've done what I could.
If you're ever where the roads end and the service dies, pay attention to the silence.
Pay attention to the way the shadows move. And if you hear a voice calling your name, do not answer.
Run. Keep running until the sky turns gold and the world is safe again. Because the hills are not just mountains. They are a boundary.
And we were never meant to cross the line.
The wind's picking up tonight. I can hear the hum vibrating through the floorboards. The moon's just clearing the ridge. It's time for me to lock the doors and turn off the lamps. It's time for the cycle to begin again. The wilderness is calling, but you shouldn't answer. You really, truly shouldn't answer. Sleep well if you can, and remember, the woods are watching, and they are always hungry. The wind's picking up, and I can feel that hum again. It's vibrating right through the floorboards of this old place. The moon's clearing the ridge, and it's time to lock up. I've got to keep the barrier solid tonight. No lights, no chances. Just me and the silence. The things out there are waiting for a crack.
They're out there, mimicking the wind in the pines.
I hear them calling, but I know better than to answer. They want me to step out, but I'm staying right here. Look at those ridges, just waiting for the moon. It's a cage, and we're just the ones inside. The government thinks they can hold it, but they're wrong. They're learning, watching us, waiting for the barrier to break. I've seen them mimic the sounds of a crying child. They're patient, but I've got all the time in the world. She saw the seam, and she stepped right through it. The authorities called it a glitch, but I saw the truth. The air was trying to solidify, to reach out and grab her. I stay because someone has to be the witness. If I leave, the story dies, and the woods win. I'm the last line of defense against the forgetting. Hear that? That's the sound of the cage door rattling. The earth is grinding, trying to keep them down. It's a heartbeat, and it's getting faster every night. Once you see the pattern, you can never unsee it. You've opened a door in your own mind just by listening. The wilderness is calling, but you shouldn't answer. The moon is rising, and the cycle begins again. Sleep well, if you can, and remember the warning. The woods are watching, and they're always hungry. I keep a record of every name I can remember. It's the only way to make sure they aren't just erased from history. Sometimes the house itself seems to groan under the pressure.
It's like the earth is trying to push its way inside.
I can feel them out there in the dark. They're just waiting for me to make one wrong move.
I lock the doors every single night. Not because it'll stop them, but because it keeps my own space solid.
The silence is the worst part. It's like the whole world is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen.
I still carry this picture of my brother. It reminds me of what they can do when they use your own memories against you.
The hum is getting louder.
I can feel the barrier between our worlds starting to fray.
Look at the compass. The magnetic field is already starting to shift.
I have to keep my own light hidden. If they see me, they'll know I'm here.
It's starting.
The shadows are moving again. The shadows out there, they aren't just moving with the wind. They're pulsing, like they're breathing in time with the earth.
I've never seen them this close to the cabin before.
The hum is getting louder now, rattling everything in the kitchen. It's like the whole cabin is vibrating with the earth.
I gotta make sure everything is locked down tight.
The wood feels like ice under my hand. I'm listening for anything, even a whisper, but there's nothing. Just that damn hum, getting deeper and deeper.
Look at this face. Just another old man in a cabin.
Nobody believes me, and maybe that's for the best.
I'm just a witness. That's all I am.
Another name to add to the list?
It never ends, does it?
I keep writing them down so they aren't forgotten.
My time is running out. I can feel it.
Who's gonna watch the lines when I'm gone?
That's the thought that keeps me up at night.
Darkness is the only thing that makes sense out here.
I don't need the light to see what's coming.
I'm just waiting for the moon to hit the peak. Did you hear that?
Something scratching at the wall.
It's trying to find a way in, but it won't.
That voice, it sounds just like him. I know it's a trap. I know it's not real.
But God, it hurts to hear it.
I won't answer.
I won't give them what they want.
I'll just sit here until the sun comes up.
I know that voice, but I know it's not real.
It's just a trick, a way to get me to open the door.
They're out there, waiting for me to slip up.
The hills are hungry tonight, and they're getting closer. The compass is spinning like crazy again. That means the barrier is thinning, and they're pushing through. She saw it, and she paid the price. I still have the photos. A warning for anyone who thinks they're safe. They're getting bolder, aren't they? They're not even hiding in the shadows anymore. Gotta stay calm. Gotta keep my head on straight.
If I lose it now, I'm just another memory for them to harvest.
Grandpa was right about everything.
The mountains are alive, and they're breathing right along with me. It's happening. The cycle is starting again.
I just have to hold on until the sun comes up. You're not coming in here. Not tonight. I'm the last line of defense, and I'm not backing down. I'll be here, watching, until my time is up. The woods are hungry, but they're not taking me today. My hand stays on the bolt, feeling the wood vibrate. The hum is getting louder, syncing with my own heart. I know better than to open it, but the pull is strong. I step back, needing to remember why I'm still here. I walk to the desk where my compass sits. The needle is still spinning in circles. I pick up the compass, feeling the cold brass. It's a simple tool, but it's useless out here. I stare at the glass, seeing my own reflection. I set it down and look toward the window. The shadows have stopped moving, just waiting for me. They're watching, waiting for me to break.
I remember what the old man told me. He said the quartz in the earth acts like a beacon. I've been living on top of an ancient antenna.
The hum is changing, making my teeth ache.
I close my eyes, but the sound is inside my head. They're not just outside anymore. They're in my thoughts. I stand up, knocking the chair back. I need to keep my mind busy. I grab my journal to look at my notes. I flip through the pages, reading my own notes. Dates, times, and all the things I've seen. It's a record of a war nobody knows about. I stop on the page about the photographer. I look at the sketch I made of that haze. The shapes I saw tonight are the same ones she saw. I close the book, feeling my resolve come back. I can't stop the cycle, but I can be the witness. I'm ready to face the night and stand my ground. The hum is getting louder now. It's vibrating right through the floorboards. I know that sound, and it's not just the wind. The moon is finally clearing the ridge. Once that light hits the trees, the hunt begins. I've seen this 1,000 times, and it never gets easier. Got to kill the lights now. I don't want to give them anything to find. Darkness is the only shield I've got left. Listen to that silence. It's so quiet you can hear your own heart beating. They're out there, just waiting for a slip. Did you hear that? That's not a child out there. It's just a trick, a way to get me to open the door. I remember you. I won't let them take your names too. You're still here, as long as I'm breathing. The windows are shaking again. They're pushing against the wall. It's getting harder to keep them out. I'm not going anywhere. You're not getting in here tonight. I'm the one who holds the line. It's quiet again.
Just a pause, I know it.
They'll be back, but not tonight. Another night down. I'm tired, but I'm still here. And as long as I'm here, the story continues. I just sit here and wait for the sun to finally break. Every creak in this old cabin sounds like a warning. The moon's finally sinking behind the ridge. That's when the shadows get real restless. My bones are feeling every bit of these 74 years. A little coffee helps keep the edge sharp. Everything's quiet out there now. It's like the woods are holding their breath. Always gotta check the compass. It's the only thing that doesn't lie to you out here. There it is, the first light of morning. I made it through another one. Listen to that. The birds are finally back. It's like the world's waking up from a bad dream. The sun's finally hitting the ridges. Everything looks so normal in the daylight. It's a beautiful place, if you don't look too close. I'll be here again tonight, watching the lines. Time to get some sleep. The hills will be waiting for me when I wake up. I've spent my whole life documenting the things that don't belong here. Every page in this journal is a testament to the shadows I've seen. People think the silence is peaceful, but they don't know what it's hiding. It's just waiting for the sun to go down again. I keep my gear ready, just in case the barrier breaks sooner than I think. You can never be too prepared when you're guarding the edge of reality. Even in the daylight, these hills are watching us. They're just waiting for their chance to pull us back into the dark. The fire is the only thing that keeps the cold from creeping in. It's a small comfort, but it's enough to get me through the day. I try to rest, but the hills never really sleep.
I can hear them humming just beneath the floorboards.
My time is running out, but I've got to keep watching. Someone has to remember the names of those who were taken.
The wind is starting to pick up, and it sounds like it's calling out names.
It's a sound I've heard too many times in my life.
The sun is setting, and the cycle is about to begin again.
I'll be here, watching, until the very end.
I'm the last one left, and I'm not going anywhere.
The woods are watching, and so am I.